Yeah.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Imagine That with Robin Richie, and I am Robin Richie. And our guest tonight is none other than the incomparable GERARD ABDUL, who's in the spotlight. Hello, sir. How are you?
Greetings. How are you, my lady?
I am magnificent. It's wonderful to have you on the platform.
It's a blessing. Yes, it is. I'm growing by leaps and bounds, and I'm staying focused. So, everything's on point.
Beautiful. Talk about the origins of none other than Mr. Abdul.
I am Gerard Abdul, G Smooth, hashtag the 24-hour man. Presently, I'm involved with the funeral business. My brother has 2 funeral homes, and I'm a anchor or a key part of what he has put together. 3 years ago, I sold my last barbershop, uh, uh, Eaton Place, North Grove Street. That's East Orange, Illtown's finest, as everyone likes to say. The Naughty by Nature area. It came down near back in '92, and we pioneered a campaign that lasted for 30 years. Uh, we like to say Jamal Farr Entertainment. In reality, it wasn't easy because it was coming from another city where we still had business, and that was in Orange, New Jersey. That's the beginning.
This is a family business.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Robert B. Brown, Chapels of Eden, 110 South Munn Avenue in East Orange. September makes 20 years, but he has really developed himself. We can go back to when we were with Vaughn Harper in the '90s,
Right.
and I actually met him through his father, and his little brother, Dre Brown. I can't forget him. He always was a memory in my mind. He was younger than him.
Right.
So this is a beautiful thing. And, I have to shout out Frank Cooper, Melanated Rain. He has been a vital part in helping me grow into this position after me selling the barbershop, which was happening 3 years ago. So a lot of things happened simultaneously. I lost my mother 3 years ago, and I vowed that I would ride her spirit into finishing the success that I hadn't completed. So now I have reached that point. You're going to accomplish what you will.
Your origins actually were sports related.
That was the beginning, the gridiron. I was an all-state quarterback. It's a long legacy of that, the football. Every young guy that was coming up in the early '70s, they wanted to be a football player or basketball player or baseball player or something that associated themselves to those who they saw themselves in. And whether it was Willie Mays, Jim Brown, we all wanted to be a talent, a standout. We all wanted to be visible. So, the platform that they left for us or gave us was, sport.
Yes.
Either you can be an athlete, you can be a movie guy, or you can be a drug dealer. You can be a street person. So very few of us was moving up in the corporate world. And if you moved up a certain way, you was a token. This is where it's at, and this is where it started. I always believed that I would make it to the NFL. Tragedy set in. One thing about life, there is no master plan. You can plan for a plan, but things do go wrong. And if you're not on point, you will get diverted from the actual thing that you thought you wanted to be.
Right. How does barbering factor into that as a master barber, actually?
I cut hair all through high school. I started cutting my own hair. I had to be about 12, 13 years old. I never knew that me as an individual would become a master barber. I mean, that wasn't the plan. I thought I would make it to the NFL. That's how good I was.
Yes.
But, we all picked up hobbies along the way. Back in the day, when we went to school, they had a thing on Saturdays. We used to meet at Lincoln Avenue. The children that was from certain zip codes, we would all meet at a certain area, Lincoln Avenue. Every Saturday, we would meet in the morning there, and they would teach us different, projects. But I was always attracted to cutting hair, and the barbershop has been the life of the Black man. It's the beginning of your lesson. When I came up, you had a lot of older guys that was coming from the South, and some of them was right here in our area, and they had the knowledge. If you wanted to learn something, you went to the barbershop because when you went there, not only was it a barbershop, it was a history place. We had the shoe shine parlor in the barbershop, and we weren't wearing jeans. They called them dungarees.
Right.
And they wasn't even wearing them in the barbershop. When you came to the barbershop, it was somewhat of a fashion show. When I came up in the 70s, my first haircut was like in 69, 70 at Armstrong in Orange on Wolcott Street. I paid 99 cents.
Look at that, ladies and gentlemen. Wow.
99 cents for that haircut. And that was between 69 and 70. Never forget it. Armstrong was one of the hallmark names, but my partner, Zeke Brown, he supersedes them all because he had the consciousness. They had a thing called BCD at the time, Black Community Development. And Raz Baraka's father, along with the brother who helped formulate Kwanzaa, these were the guys that was in the community building outside of the Nation Islam and the Black Panther. There were so many individuals that came to lift us up. But the barbershop was where you got it at. Some of the early names of barbers was that stuck with me the most was tonsure artists, because the barbers were not just barbers, but they were surgeons. They pulled teeth, they did minor surgeries, and this is what I understood as I came along as a young man and began to master the craft. And I didn't learn that till many years later.
You actually had shops, multiple shops, over 3 decades.
Absolutely. Yes, I did. It was Wally Waz that recognized that I was over on Chancellor Avenue in Union cutting hair. And it was Jent Mosby that got me the gig with Paul. And Paul was a household name. Paul was one of the guys that created the Fuller Wave and the Jerry Curl on this part of the hemisphere. There was another brother that done it in San Diego, and he was a household name. But
Amazing.
yes, it is. And yes, when I started in the barbershop, I learned from the best. It was Carl, and at that time, he had got away from cutting hair, and he was more or less into the beautician game. He was doing women's hair, and that's something that he really wanted me to do. And when I was working with him at the time, I was going to Wilford Academy, which was downtown Newark. Everything was 1, 2, 3.
And these gentlemen you have mentioned, including Dr. Karenga, right?
Yes, Ringer.
Yes.
Exactly. Yes, yes. That's
Yes.
his name. Yes. These are the brothers that started Black Community Development in Newark and Amiri Baraka.
They were your mentors.
Yes, they are. Yes. Zeke Brown was affiliated with those. He was probably a member or associate with the organization. And He had a major impact in the 70s in Orange, New Jersey, formulating buses, getting the basketball players to where they had to go. So when we talk about community development, we talking about on all aspects and all levels. And a lot of people that hear me speaking about this know that I know what I'm talking about. Orange was considered Little Harlem at the time. They had the four corners.
Mm-hmm.
Orange was the place to be,
Yes.
and this is the way I got my degree.
What are your observations about the community at large today?
Well, the community has been infiltrated, you know, um, just like our history. There has been different substances that has been dropped in our community. When the first junkies I saw were those that was coming home from Vietnam,
Mm-hmm.
whether it be 69, 70, 71, 72. Those were the first junkies that I ever seen use dope. These are the things that took us off course,
Mm-hmm.
along with the policies, in the 60s, that also broke up our community,
Right.
you know? So we can go on and on about the diversions that was put in our neighborhoods to bring us down. But the
Mm-hmm.
truth of the matter is, what are you doing about it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that is why your role within the community over 3 decades with your barbershops,
Right.
you were a contributor in many eyes, the youth whose hair you cut. They're grown men now,
Yes, they are. Yes, they
right?
are. The way I always saw it once I learned the word Islam as an acronym for in self lies all mathematics. Once you master yourself, you can master others. And the only way you can master others is master yourself. And once you master yourself, you have to lead by example because you're the one that people see. You're the one that has the experience. You're the one that has the knowledge and the know how to make things happen or make things different in difficult times.
Right.
Not just when it's good, but when the times you're struggling. Part of being a barber, me translating into the funeral business was almost the same thing because we're doing God's work. Not only am I giving you a service as a barber, I'm conveying to you the message that God has put in my heart because all his laws are actually written on the tabernacles of a black man's heart.
Over.
There comes a time when you must have knowledge of self because being without knowledge of self, you're subjected to suffering and shame. And the most honorable Elijah Muhammad said, if I can't shame you, I can't change you. Those quotes stayed with me. And what we have become, we have no shame. We have no love for one another. And these are the things that hold us back. We can't unite because there are two ugly twins, envy and jealousy.
Mm.
It's very hard to heal in a place where you got sick. So if we have enough ability by God's will, we can lead by example one day at a time.
Right.
It takes time, for people to see the realization. What happens with a man and woman? You can reinvent yourself 3 times in a lifetime, sometimes 5, depending on your mental capacity and how compassionate you are with the Creator. I always believed that if Allah is God, have a relationship with Allah, not the religion, because you don't want to get colonized. They use books to colonize us. Because of that, we are all in different directions reading from the same book. Look at the world today. You got military bases in Muslim countries and they're fighting another Muslim. Behind who? And behind what? All we have to do is focus on ourselves, come together. The first three letters in unity are you and I. It's hard for us to do it, even if we know the lesson, even if we've been through it. That's like your diet. You know this is not good for you, but you still eat it.
Right.
You still drink it,
Right.
but you know. So how strong is your will? And this is what the people see when they look for a leader or a teacher. They look to see how strong is your will. Can you live up to the things that you advocate? Can you do it? That's the question. We like to lead by example. We don't do a lot of talking. We're not on a lot of podcasts. Actually, we're not on any. This is the first one that actually will bring us into the forefront. Imagine that with Miss Robin Richie.
I am honored to have this candid discussion. And that is a part of the different layers of Mr. Abdul, ladies and gentlemen. Those of you who do know and are familiar with him, there is the entertainment component, the diversity of his career. But at the core of all of that is a deep thinker, okay?
Absolutely.
Someone who implements, someone who has a plan, and someone who has, through many different umbrellas, has played a part in our community that after so many years, you still are. And you have a level of respect that transcends neighborhoods and communities at large.
Thank you.
How did you wind up walking runways state to state? Talk us through that, and then we're going to talk a little bit about these wonderful films that you've been a part of as well.
Well, the runway business, it started many years ago. I would say late 90s, early 2000s. I want to give a big shout out to John Blasingame. He played a big role in getting me started in a lot of areas that I'm in now. And it actually started in the barbershop. How about that? There was a time on 39 Park Street. There was a brother named Stinky Ford.
I love it.
And when I tell you he was an immaculate brother, loved the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, loved the black man and woman. And he was like an image that a lot of us wanted to be like. And he wasn't the only one, but he's the one that I'm speaking about now. He had a lot to do with the upbringing of a lot of us and, gearing us in certain directions. He was a very, very knowledgeable brother, very knowledgeable. He didn't graduate high school, and he didn't have to, because neither did Moses or Jesus or Muhammad. But when God has his hand on you, he'll use you as an example for others.
Right.
And that's what happened with him, and that's what happened with us. A lot of us, whether we knew it or not, as we grew, we became example for those that watched us.
Yes.
So whatever we did, whether it was right or wrong, they saw it. And whatever part of you that they were attracted to, they emulated or tried to. But this brother was special. But sometimes we don't realize how special we are because we're not that connected to the God. And once you connect with the God, There's nothing and no one that can get in the way of what the God has for you or has planned for you. You don't always know where you're going because sometimes that door is dark, it's closed. There may be three doors. This one's closed and it's dark. This one got a dollar sign on it. The other one has sex. Which one you choose?
Right.
You have to be mindful for all things that God bless you with. Jesus said, beware of strangers who you entertain, for you may entertain angels unexpectedly. Are you an angel, Rob?
I've been referred to as such at times, able to translate that knowledge, whether subliminally or directly, and then to be able to offer those things that maybe in some instances we didn't have, you
Right.
know.
We didn't. Even if you didn't have it, there was someone that you saw that had it.
Yes,
And it was up to you by God's will to recognize that individual to build your world around it or
yes,
through it. This happens on all levels. There was a brother that I studied, Jawan Kunjufu, and his book was bringing young men, young boys to manhood.
yes,
And that book, along with Dr. Naeem Akbar, these were some of the brothers that had the right ideas about building a nation. I had a lot of love for Dr. Leonard Jeffries. He's
yes,
another one. Kwame Nkrumah. You
yes.
know, if you study yourself, that's where you'll find yourself. I had
It really takes a strong foundation, community leaders, the village to
right.
counteract these things that still continue today.
Right. So I wrote a song a few years ago, and it's called "You Have to Put the Neighbor Back in the Hood." What has happened, and I'm not talking about the white neighbor that moved out. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the foundation of the barber shop. I'm going right back to where I started, and because you can't move forward unless you know where you've been,
Right,
then you know where you're going.
right.
And what has happened today, freedom has allowed a lot of us not to know our place anymore.
Mhm.
It has allowed us to be outlandish, disrespectful. Then you see a woman who says chivalry is dead. Chivalry is never dead if you're a man, a real man.
Right.
So you don't see a lot of the opening of doors or excuse me, you can have this seat when it's crowded on the train or the bus. You don't see that. We talk
Simple common courtesies. And you're right, we've moved away from the basics of integrity, honesty, loyalty, at a detriment.
I was on Eaton Place, North Grove Street for 30 years. And a lot of guys that I know, a lot of them aren't even 50 years old. Some of them are closing in on 50. Zeke Brown was my partner, and we taught a hell of a lesson there because Zeke was 28 years older than me, but he was my partner. There was a brother that used to come from Philly when we were on 122 Hickory Street around the corner from 108 Project in Orange, which was a real tough spot. And he used to call us, my partner was Professor Fade, and I was Dr. Blinn. The skills was like that. And
Yes.
we lived off of our, our skills. But when you came into the barbershop, there was a contrast of knowledge. Together, we had a monopoly on the community. We used to have three dice in the window, and they were big dice, right?
Mhm.
And every day I would change the number of the dice. There was one guy, he was in his 90s. I was outside one day and he said, young man, come here. He said, I noticed something. And I said, what's that? He said, the number of the dice change every day. Why is that? All I could do was laugh. Because Zeke said to me, G, this is what we're going to do. You put the dice in the window. Every day, let's change the number to see who's aware of their surroundings. What's transpiring right in front of your face that you don't see?
Right.
And that's how things happen. You are manipulated. It happens right in front of your face, but you don't see it.
Particularly today.
Is it subliminal seduction? No, it's not. There's a thing that they implemented on us: criminology, psychology, tricknology. And through those three essence, they manipulated game.
Right.
You know, they made the drug dealer seem like he was that guy, the glamorous. This is what you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
Look what he got. But not knowing deep down inside, he was a detriment to his own neighborhood.
Right.
And he was killing himself softly. So they used a lot of soft tactics to get to the essence of us. And the barbershop is the beginning of your lesson.
Right.
You asked me about fashion. It was a fashion show. People came laid out,
Mm-hmm.
crocs, gators, lizards, pythons, you name it. You know what I'm saying? We were suited and booted, cutting hair in $1,000 suit. You know, I know about it. Beaver hat, cashmere, silk. You know, we did that many years ago. But we found out that was just a way to get to another level if we pursued it. If we didn't pursue it, we'll remain stagnant.
Right.
And that's something you don't want to remain because you're not living. You're alive, but you're not living. You're not carrying out a function.
Absolutely. Tell us about some of the films you've been a part of.
Oh, wow. I've been signed with Posh Models. I'm in the ballroom scene in Devil Wears Prada, uh, which comes out in May 2026. Um, I'm in the background scene with FF84, which is a Jamie Foxx premiere that was taped in Jersey City. One of the latest things I done was the survival of the thickest. I'm in a lot of scenes in that. They even paid me like I was sad. Recently, I just did medical tech commercial that will air for 3 years. So that really paid well. You know, I have some things on the table this week coming up, and there are many more things I'm involved in film wise. You know, some things I didn't mention, but
Yes.
yes, since I had the agent, it has really taken off. I believe I have a look that they've been looking for that they haven't seen, and I'm blessed to be here with a head full of hair, and it's snow white, just like my chin, and you know, hey, I'm rolling with the punches, baby. I'll ride this wave all the way out.
Could you tell us about this magnificent ensemble you're wearing and the
Uh,
photographer, by the way?
yeah, so we want to give a big up to Jade Murphy, Rare Magazine CEO, editor, chief, owner, and I met him. There was a brother, Larry Underwood, and he called on me to do this fashion show for him. And I actually that year I was on the cover of Harlem Week, but because of the obligation with Larry, I did not do that show, I ended up going to the Copacabana and doing this show for Larry, and that's where I met JD. And that show was an award ceremony. I met quite a few interesting people. Getting back to Jade, um, he has Rare magazine, and this is where I met him. It was during the casting that we connected, and he took that picture that you made fabulous. There are probably a few pictures on this theme that Jade is responsible for, and this picture here is exceptional. And from what I see, it represents growth because of the greenery. The greenery, it represents life, the photosynthesis, connection, the ability to produce from yourself.
Yes.
So this photo is magnificent, and I'm sure Jade would like it as well. And
Thank you.
thank you so much for displaying me in such a magnificent exhibit. Yeah.
Thank you. You know, and you have water back there. Also, the water is flowing.
But not only is the water back there, the water is in the leaves, in the tree.
Absolutely.
You see what I'm saying? This is what makes it so perfect, so right, because there's life there.
Yes.
There's life
Yes.
there. And that's what we try to establish and build on, the extension of life. Each
Absolutely.
one teach one. You have an eye for opening an eye. And that's something that's rare. That's why your program is called Imagine That. Imagine that.
Imagine that. I try my best, Mr.
Yeah.
Abdul.
Well, you have a great platform. I watched some of your previous interviews, and I was very excited to come aboard and be a part of, you know, this magnificent project that we're putting together. And thank you so much, for having me. This whole project exudes success.
Talk a little bit about the 24-hour man brand. Drum roll, please.
Oh my God. Oh, 24 hours. Let me tell you about 24 hours and how it all came about. Um, my brother's son, Kevin Baker, Monopoly is who I like to say, but his name is Julius. God bless him. He was shot 22 times, and we put him to rest the best way we knew how. Kevin has an organization called Mending Heart Together, and because of him, he's opened a lot of channels for parents who have lost loved ones, children to gun violence, and it was his son that brought uh, the track into the barber shop one day while I was cutting hair, and we were all in there. True G, all the guys was there, and he put the track on, and it had something. It done something to me, and I came up with the 24-hour man, something that I had been thinking about, and one of the aspects, believe it or not, came from Shaft when Samuel L. Jackson said that they asked him what he wanted in 24 hours, and it was Halle Berry. I don't know if you guys remember that line, but he said, I'll take Halle Berry for 24 hours. And that was part of the concept of me writing the 24-hour man. That had something to do with it, along with what he brought into my shop. But truth of the matter is, the song came right from my heart. I never wrote anything down. It just spewed out like it was supposed to. They also had another song, What Would You Do If You Had 24 Hours to Live?
Mm-hmm.
When you're creating, you create from different concepts. You don't always know where they come from, but they come to you. And the truth of the matter is, if you don't know what to do with them when they come to you, you'll lose them. Okay. Because where there's no vision, the people perish. So if you don't have the vision to bring all of this stuff into continuity, to make it make sense,
Would you?
you have no platform to stand on.
Right.
So the 24-hour man, that brand is the brand that I was building for many, many years. It started with me becoming a member of ASCAT back in the late 90s and being one of the featured acts at the first Black Film Festival in Acapulco, Mexico, that Jeff Friday put together with Ron Gregg. God bless the dead. He worked for Sony.
Yes.
Yeah, you understand who I'm talking about,
He
right?
was a sweetheart.
And yes, he was.
Very talented.
And not only that, this is where I met Michael Bass.
Mm-hmm.
I met a lot of guys that wasn't who they were now, but
Right.
because of strict discipline, we all become who we become, but we all learn on our own level at our own time. Sometimes there are distractions that impede your growth or what you're trying to do. And I'm an example of it. But one thing I do know is that where there's no vision, the people perish. So I kept myself grounded with the foundational teachings that I learned. And it wasn't religion. I may have took some acronyms or some religious rituals that governed my foundation back, but it was written on the tabernacle of the heart.
One thing we haven't talked about this evening, you had a very, very harrowing experience. We're coming
Yeah,
up on an anniversary,
yeah,
correct?
yeah, yeah.
17 or
Actually,
18 years,
16.
maybe even?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, it's 16.
16 years ago.
16.
Would you tell our viewing audience what that was that changed your whole paradigm?
If you know me, you know I was a ladies' man, and I ended up with prostate cancer. 16 March this month made 16 years that I'm cancer free. I had a robotic surgery, and I've been affected by it, and I'm still affected by it. But I learned how to live through it. You understand? It was a harrowing experience. I was allergic to the anesthesia, so I ended up on a respirator, a head big as a pumpkin, and close to death. Not that I haven't been close to death before, but this was something different. And I did eventually have my prostate removed, and I still suffer from certain symptoms. Anytime you go into surgery or you go through a transition, you don't know how you're going to come out.
The risks,
Right.
yes.
There is. Even in life. And life is surgery because the older you get, the more you learn or the more you should know. So if you're not executing the things that you know, or if you're getting away from the things that make you better, that's surgery. You want to always move toward the things that kept you or got you where you're at.
Yes. 16 years. Congratulations. I'm so glad that you're doing well. I know you may have a few challenges, but honey, you don't look like anything of what you've experienced. And you are a guiding light for a lot of men.
It was Sister Dawn Muhammad, uh, A1 Party Supply, Angelo, Omar. Uh, they had an event done in Verona at one of the prestigious halls. The keynote speaker was our beloved brother. He passed away, Mtume,
James
and
and
James Mtume, and who lived in South Orange, as to be exact. But There was James and Toomey. They do have the DVD that we're all on together, and I was one of the speakers at that time because of Sister Dawn and Angelo Omar Muhammad. I was privileged with the opportunity to share my experience. Um, when I was diagnosed, I had intercourse a couple times, and I felt something that was not right. And I said I would do it one more time. If I feel it again, I would, go to my primary doctor, who is Dr. James Court, right here on South Munn Street, down the street from the funeral home. And my PSA was very high at the time. So he sent me to Dr. Johnson, who I had already knew through Dr. Daniels. It was a connection. I was connected to all of these doctors because I was cutting some of their hair at the time as well. And Dr. Johnson realized that my PSA was very high as well. So
Tell us, what is a PSA? What
uh,
is
a PSA is when a blood test is taken and they test the levels of your prostate, how far it is or how close it is to cancer. So that's what a PSA is, and I advise all Black men to get checked, a blood test,
Yes.
and from that blood test, my PSA levels were very high twice, and I end up considering to have a biopsy. Uh, that biopsy was done by three different pathologists, and it came back I had cancer 20% on my right side, but within 2 years, it wasn't moving and they did not understand it. I was taking salt, palmetto, and pygene, which the Africans took.
Mhm.
Okay. And I was taking that on a regular basis. And there was a brother who was older than me who was a counselor in the prison, uh, Philip Harris. And he hit me to these things. He may have been like 15 years older than me at the time. So because of him, I learned certain things about my health and I began to take it with zinc and pumpkin seed. These are the things that will save a Black man's prostate or any man's prostate for that matter. But I did come down with it. And it was a lesson for me to learn to stop a lot of the things I was doing. I think God was telling me something. And the only way he could tell me was to show me, and I ended up having prostate cancer, and it was one of the worst experiences. I've had quite a few surgeries, but this one was different, and it changed my life. It changed my life completely.
Did you have a support system, or
Well,
was everything that you were experiencing you processed privately? How did that work for you?
I've always been the example. I think I had the operation. It was supposed to be same day surgery. Like I said, it was robotic.
Right.
I was like I was in that category of a guy who's first getting his robotic surgery because it was somewhat of an experiment at that time.
Mhm.
It wasn't prevalent.
Yes.
I wasn't something that guys was having then. They would usually cut you below your navel. When they did that, they would cut your nerves out. I'm okay with it. I'm alive. I could talk about it. I could
Yes.
share it with others and they can learn from, my example. And like I said, I lead by example. I'm not
Yes.
ashamed and I'm not shy. If you want to ask me about that, feel free to get in contact with me. I'm talking to any man or any men. You know what I mean? I might be the man, but I had a lot of men behind me.
I feel honored to have you on this platform and to feel comfortable enough to be as transparent as you are, because again, this is something that affects hundreds of thousands of men, and there are a lot of men who live in silence. They suffer in shame.
Silence don't mean strength. It comes from a childhood experience. Men ain't supposed to cry. It's a
Yes.
lie.
Right. Right.
Men cry just like women.
They
Men
say.
hurt. Men go through things too. But a lot of us, pride, like ego, what kills an organization, what
Yeah.
kills love. You have to look at the man in the mirror, like Michael Jackson said. The person you're looking at in the mirror, if you can't fix it, it can't be fixed. Men,
What advice would you give to baby Gerard?
the first thing I would say to baby Gerard is believe in yourself. Don't let nobody tell you you can't do it. Because I was told I would never use my arm again once I was stabbed. I had lost the nerves in my left arm, missed a year of football, lost my dedication, went into the street, stabbed up. Somewhere along the line, Muhammad stepped in
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
it changed the trajectory of my thinking.
Yes.
And because of that, I ended up like this. So there were many different stages when I was down on the block in the Ill Town section. I came out with my own candy bar. They never seen nothing like it. I had two, the Mr. Macho bar, and we had the Black Mother. I got to tell it like it is.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
you know, we had different stages of growth.
Hmm.
We went from Mr. Mancho all the way to the 24-hour man and whoever else I was in between. So this is the journey.
Right.
You understand? You'll create this, you'll do that, you can make that happen. You can end up like this, or you can
Hmm.
end up like that.
Right.
This is all up to you. It's the way you see yourself. And if you listen to what others say, you'll never be yourself. This whole thing about life is focus. Hocus pocus, not hocus pocus. Hocus pocus is the women, the cars, the game, the parties. That's what you're going to get. But that's not going to define you as a man. It's not going to be how many women you had, although I may have that reputation. That's not what it's about, man. When you realize what it's all about, sometimes it's too late for a lot of us because we played the wrong game. But this photo and image that you show, this is something that we done for Indigo magazine back in 2000, I want to say.
Mm.
Uh, awesome, awesome photo shoot. We were all on top of a cab, and I love the way you depict this whole image and created it and brought it to life in a whole different format. I'm proud. It makes me feel good to see me sitting there amongst all of us because we were all models at that time, late 90s, 2000s.
Yes.
Lenny Hamilton, makeup artist, was one of the guys, and Ramel. These were some of the people that got me involved and kept me going. But till this very day, there's my friend, my dear friend, Milroy B. Harris, who's in Baltimore, who I will be going to see next month. And we have an interview and some other things transpiring. It was him that encouraged me to grow my hair,
Mm.
to get back into the model game after, I had made my mind up after my mother passed that it's time to sell a shop. It's time to move on. It's time to create and become the man you're supposed to be.
Hmm.
You wasted too much time. So now the time is right. We're here, we're doing it, and God willing, you know, watch out next month. That's all I can say. We have so much going on, so many projects, and there was three singers in my neighborhood. There were more, but those that stood out was Jewel Hood, Alexander Weeks, and myself.
Hmm.
And Mr. James was a hell of a music teacher, the voice lessons, and we were all in elementary. So I sang all the way up until the eighth grade. I
What?
began to think that it was feminine to sing. It was more of a roughneck thing for me to football. I was excelling in both, but I didn't have no one to tell me to continue to do both. And playing football, I still could have been singing.
Right. With all of these different things, you sing, you write, uh, you model, you're a filmmaker. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, he has these docu-films, these short films on YouTube. And before we close out, you can tell us what your YouTube channel is so that our viewers can follow you. But a lot of the topics you tackle are some of the things that we talk about. And you're in the communities tackling homelessness and poverty and interviewing people who have diagnosed mental illnesses, and it gives them both a voice and a platform to be heard and seen. And that's so admirable.
We were taught to love ourselves. God helps those who help themselves. So if we can show you a mirror, because I'm just a mere reflection of yourself, even if you're an alley bum, you can clean yourself up and become what God intended you to be, and that's great. There are 99 attributes, and each attribute is a characteristic of the personality of the God. So you want for your brother what you want for yourself. So you lead by example, and if that brother can recognize himself in you, he can become better than he is today than he was yesterday. There are two mercies. There's uh, Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim. There's a mercy where you deserve mercy, and then there's mercy where you don't deserve it.
By default.
By default. But he still shows mercy on you because he gives you an opportunity to do what? Correct the wrong. Like I said, once you realize you can't heal in the place you got sick, then you can correct it. But if you stay stagnant, you'll become a sheeple. And that's what most people are today. They follow the crowd, they don't move it. And because of that, we have a lot of lost souls, and those souls are having children, and those souls are lost, and so on and so forth. So, it's a mentality that we have to break.
Right.
Robin, I'm so thankful that Allah has blessed me. I'm not on any medication, 61, and I take supplements like a lot of friends. We are conscious of what we are.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And we are water.
Yes.
We're actually water. We want to consume those things that give you life.
What I want to know as we come upon the close, which is simply, what do you have on the horizon? And final thoughts.
Tales from the Homeless. It's an experience, it's a journey of mine. 36 years in the business, 3 barbershops, 1 beauty salon, apartment buildings, one that I never owned that I rented out for 5 years, and we'll be talking about in that book. And Robin, you're my publicist and the editor, so we're 50% almost done. So next month, we'll be licensing one of the hottest songs I wrote, along with Ashton Dollars and Filthy Rich Entertainment, Williamsburg, Brooklyn. Ashton is from Queens. We got something going to TikTok, and it's gonna blow everybody's mind. Trust me. In the midst of all this pain and war, we still find ways to soothe our soul. And we here. We're gonna run with it. It's Jamal for Entertainment. I am GERARD ABDUL, the 24-hour man. He moves the ladies' man.
Tell us where you can be found on YouTube.
Yes, if you go to my YouTube channel, you can find docu-films on Poor Black and I'm in Real Trouble, about the Hemi, the wet, the water. That was an experience, something that some people don't have no knowledge of it. So we have a docu-film on that, Tales of the Homeless, where we went throughout New Jersey and New York. soup kitchens and interviewing folks, and weather was frigid, but we had to get the job done. That's what we did. Certain songs that I created, that's conscious. And if you check into Jamal Farr Entertainment on YouTube, Gerard Abdul, you can find me there. On Instagram, find me at gsmooth4123. On TikTok, I'm Gerard Abdul, and on Facebook, I'm Gerard Abdul as well. G Smooth, over 80,000 followers, over 100,000 followers. So, we have a platform that people are listening to all over the world, not just here in America. So we continue to do what we do to wake people up and make people conscious of the strides that we're making as we grow by leaps and bounds.
Once again, thank you so much, Gerard Abdul. Warrior, add that to the list of many, many, many things that of which you do. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again. You've been logged on to Imagine That with Robin Richie. Ladies